Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm here at SMTA Guadalajara and I'm joined by Tom Forsythe, who is one of the officers of SMTA.
I am a past board member at SMTA,
You're a past
and
board
SMTA
member.
is one of those organizations where it's kind of like the Hotel California.
You can
you
never
come
leave.
in and you're never leaving.
You can
so
never leave.
I often carry the bag for SMTA around the world as I wander.
SMTA have done an absolutely fabulous job here in Mexico. You know, when I look back, I was at this show maybe 7 years ago when it was at the hotel over the road. Lots of tiny booths. It felt very much like it was just getting going.
Agreed.
But the industry was already motoring. But now this feels like an APEX. It feels like that kind of scale of show.
Absolutely, it absolutely does. And it's a case of recognizing the need and people embracing it, right? So what we've got here is, you know, as we look at what's gone on in the globe, particularly in the last 5 or so years, you know, these effortless global trade that we all had and thought was magic. There are different opinions about that these days.
Not so easy, yeah.
A wide range of opinions,
Yeah.
right? But clearly, proximity is valuable.
Yeah.
All right. Mexico is perfectly placed. They've been in the electronics business. I was reminiscing about coming to visit Motorola 25 or 30 years ago downtown. It's got a workforce that's keen and talented, available, likes the work. The global partners and suppliers and providers, the EMS folks and whatnot, are finding their way here. That's a natural hotspot for SMTA to deliver their value of bringing people together to share ideas, to share innovations, and help the whole industry's tide rise on skill and daily execution.
Yeah, and technology and such. And I think this year Mexico became the largest importer into the US. So that was,
I believe that's
that was
true.
a milestone that they reached.
Absolutely, and it's, you know,
it's
just like, you know, the U.S. market's very odd, right? Over the years, Canada or Mexico have always been very large, you know, importers into the U.S. or exporters into the U.S. You know, that changed with China, but of course the world's changing again. And so, again, SMTA has been active down here. There have been chapters in Mexico for at least 10 or 20 years minimum. And now I think there's 4 or 5 different chapters, Guadalajara being probably the most exciting. It's the largest metropolitan area where everyone is. So I think it's been a real win. It's been great for the association, a lot of membership, a lot of participation. This, in a way, this isn't really a chapter event. You know, the sign says SMTA Mexico, and that's really what it is, right?
It feels like it's the national conference.
It feels like it's a national conference, and it genuinely is. And that's marvelous, right? Because it gets everybody together. It's a clearinghouse. The engineers get to come and get answers because, you know, the suppliers bring their experts, right? As they do to the other global shows. And they're here, they can get those answers, they can learn, you know, maybe they've put most of it together, but there's something they're not quite getting. A brief conversation with one of those experts, voila.
It's there,
Okay, that's why people come to trade shows. You know, they like to press buttons, but they're really coming for that little piece of the puzzle, that they figured out this whole complex thing, but there's this one little thing.
Who's got the bit that makes it all fit together?
And that's the magic of SMTA, is that sharing that goes on, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I think the other beauty of SMTA is that it feels like it's very much coming from the ground up. It's coming from the people in the industry that not just want to promote their own business, but really care about the industry. And that's what makes it kind of unique.
SMTA started out in its name, of course, SMT. We take it for granted, but you know, you and I remember there wasn't always SMT.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
THTA never existed.
And so, the very, very earliest days of SMTA were really a clearinghouse of people saying, geez, I'm doing this and something weird's happening. How do I resolve this? And there was tremendous sharing across the industry as everyone was sort of finding their way in the dark to embrace this new technology. And that core, that is still very much a thing today. That sharing of knowledge, not secrets, you know, not trade secrets or anything like that. But there's an awful lot that goes on in an assembly shop that has nothing to do with a trade secret. And everyone doing a better job was really good for the world, because we're all the consumers of all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be done. Great numbers here this week. It seems to just
tremendous.
Go from strength to strength.
It's growing. There's more people here. It's here, and that'll be the same again next year, I believe.
Yeah, and people are talking about real business on the floor there.
Absolutely.
So it's been really interesting. I've seen so many friends that I know from the big EMS companies in Guadalajara as well. So that's been great. I just wanted to move on to SMTAI back in Rosemont, which is
a wonderful thing.
Interesting. Everybody seems really happy to be back there.
Well, it's once again, the getting everybody together. Part of that is being where there's a collection of people. Of course, the U.S. is highly dispersed. or where it's an easy place to get
Yep.
to. Chicago's a very easy place to
Yeah,
get
it
to.
is.
It's an inexpensive place to get
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Rosemont is a relatively inexpensive place to stay
Yeah,
because
and near the
Rosemont,
airport.
that mayor, whatever his name was,
Yeah,
his dream was what we're doing.
yeah.
Conventions of interesting people
Yeah.
come together. There's lots of hotels. There's
Yeah.
all the things you
Good
need to pull it off.
restaurants,
It's purpose built
Yeah.
for what we need, and I'm excited about being back there. It's going to
Yeah.
be a good show. The tech program is always top notch.
It is,
And
absolutely.
the floor again has the experts and this kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a good thing.
And a celebration of 40 years of SMTA, which is
pretty
is a
amazing.
milestone in itself.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So that'll be really fun.
Yeah.
We're hoping. I know some of the folks that have retired that were part of those early day folks are going to come back. And
I was going to
that should
say,
be
how
great.
many of those 40 years have you done within SMTA?
I'm a relative newcomer, barely 30 or so. So I'm still in short pants as
There
far
you
as
go.
that goes.
Yeah.
But I know people that were at the first meeting up in, I think it was in Massachusetts
Uh-huh.
in '84.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing. I remember being at the 25th anniversary
Yeah.
where it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And that was super fun and exciting. I was on the board back at that time. So
Yeah, I love the work you guys do. I love the big shows here in Guadalajara and in Rosemont, but I actually really like the chapter stuff. You know, if I'm visiting somewhere, I get to go to a chapter meeting, meet with a dozen people.
and it's not once a year.
Really
the
understand the
beauty of the
industry.
chapters is
Oh,
they
it's
meet either
just
quarterly
all the
or
time.
monthly, depending
Yeah.
upon how many people are
Yeah.
involved. Again, that sharing of information in a
Yeah.
casual environment, a visiting guest speaker that's
Yeah.
talking about whatever may be up to date, but it's more timely
Yeah.
and it's more personal.
Yeah.
You know, it's thousands of people at the show here
Yeah.
today, right? But so you and I know lots of those
Yeah.
people, but most people only know a few of
Yeah.
those people. Well, if you go to a chapter meeting a few times,
Yeah,
you know, it's dozens of people, maybe
Yeah.
100 people generally, right?
and that's how you build your network.
You build your
It's
network,
really
you know
valuable.
people, and you go, hey, Frank,
struggling
how do you
with
do?
this.
I'm
How do you
struggling
do
with
this?
this. How do you do it? Can I buy you a beer?
Yeah.
You know, and you get some answers that really help you.
Yeah.
And what did you do? You spent 2 hours.
Yeah,
You didn't buy a plane ticket. You didn't buy a hotel room. It's in your local community.
You got it done.
Those chapters are really the genuine lifeblood of SMTA.
Tom, pleasure to chat. Thanks
Great.
so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.